Welcome to the Adult Teacher Podcast. Are you a student looking for a career path that's both fulfilling and in high demand? Look no further than the building trades. From carpentry to plumbing, electrician to HVAC technician, the building trades offer a wide variety of careers that are essential to the construction industry and provide a stable and lucrative career path. This podcast is dedicated to exposing students to the many opportunities available in the building trades. We'll be speaking with professionals from the industry, exploring different career paths, and offering advice and guidance for those interested in pursuing a career in the building trades. Whether you're a middle school or high school student exploring your options, or a college student looking for a new direction, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the exciting world of building trades.
Hi, my name is Nicoly.
Hi, my name is Xioa.
And welcome to the Dope Student Podcast. And today here we have a new guest speaker. So what is your name?
Nalah, a.k.a. the Permit Plug.
Okay, so we're going to be asking some questions about your job. So can you describe what a permit expediter does?
Yes, the Permit Expediter is pretty much a liaison between the municipality, which is, in this case, considered the City of Philadelphia, Illinois, and their clients, and their clients being either a contractor or a developer or a homeowner or investor.
How did you become interested in this career?
I kind of fell into it, actually. I worked as a realtor for about 15 years, and as a realtor, I specialized with buyers and investors, and I kind of landed myself in construction, became a construction project manager during that process, and then after that process, I decided I kind of like doing the expediting work. You know, we got kind of a couple stop work orders. You guys don't know what that is yet. But when that happened, I definitely didn't want to be in that situation again. So when I went to the city of Philadelphia, I found out there's a such thing called an expediter's license. And exactly what that meant to the construction projects and my clients. And I decided to obtain that license. And then here I am today. And I kind of found my calling. After that, I decided to be a permit expediter, and I quit being a realtor. I quit being a project manager, and I completely honed my focus on helping people and provide them the correct things that they need to, you know, when they're trying to do their construction projects, building projects, and licensing.
Okay, what kind of education or training is required to become a permit expediter?
You know, you don't need, I would say the training that you would get is always best to get some type of knowledge of construction, kind of like what you guys are already doing here, so you can have some type of knowledge. But there's like no background. There is a FBI clearance that you have to do. There's no exams that you have to take. You just apply for a license. An expediter is necessarily just a certification that you would obtain. But there's not really too many requirements besides really just the experience of being able to navigate and understand the processes of construction when you're filling out the paperwork, because that's essentially what we do. We fill out the paperwork to help the contractors and developers, you know, construct their projects.
What are some of the challenges you face in your job?
The challenges I face is I would say the client's not really knowing what they need, you know, and how that relates to their project. So in terms of they may not know that they need construction plans, or they may not have that type of understanding of how much involved their project really is and how long the process. So they tend to, you know, not be prepared and be able to give us what we need in order to go through that process to help them out effectively.
How do you stay up to date with the latest building codes and regulations?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, the City of Philadelphia issues what they call a newsletter. And every time there is a change within the City of Philadelphia in terms of their codes, their laws, their policies or procedures, they email everyone who has a trade license, i.e. we do have a trade license as a permit expediter with the city. Just like your contractor and your electrician and plumber, we all get those emails and get updated with those processes, because it helps us, you know, get along kind of quick with the project and stop having your paperwork getting kicked back. So, yeah, that's how we know. They notify us through email, and then they actually hold classes too.
Can you walk us through a typical day in the life of a permit expediter?
Wow, I wasn't prepared for that question either. Okay, well, a typical day, I usually come into messages on our cell phone, on our office line that we have to follow back up with. A typical day is We go through the messages first and see who we need to call back to see if and then check the emails to see if anybody emailed us any paperwork or any plans. We also read architectural plans and engineer reports and that kind of thing. So the typical day is we kind of go in after that. Then we also check our Eclipse system, which is a portal system with the city of Philadelphia, to see what's going on in that portal, to see if anything has come back. And then we just try to address everything based on its needs at that time. It does take a whole day process in order to deal with it because we made, like I said, we read architectural plans. So if a plans got kicked back, we need to read the plans in order to be able to address the concerns correctly and get it out to the right parties, such as the architects and the engineers who have to do the corrections. We have to talk to clients. Then we also have people calling in to that need help with their projects or maybe need consultation to determine exactly what it is they need for their projects or to see if we're a good fit for them. So it's a busy day. It doesn't tend to wind down to about maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, somewhere in there because, I mean, construction projects are getting shut down all over the place. So everything when it comes to construction, by the time they call us, it's a need and an urgency at that point. So a typical day is busy from the time that we step in at 9 p.m. to we at 9 a.m. till we leave around 5.
Okay, what are some common mistakes people make while applying for permits?
They don't look at the zoning for their project. They don't. Every single property in this entire city, actually in the entire world, has a certain code that goes to the property. So they do not look at the code. So they apply for a permit and they apply for the wrong permit because they didn't know that their property was a multifamily, or they didn't know that the property was a single family, or they didn't know the property was converted to a commercial or what have you. So they really probably don't read the zoning or understand the zoning on their property, or even to understand sometimes the level of construction work that they're doing in order to apply for the right type of permit. You know, so that's a lot of the problems. They really don't know because they're so rushing to get the project in and the permit submitted versus actually paying attention to evaluate the project first.
How do you prioritize and manage your workload?
Well, that's a good question. We have a CRM system. Okay, everything doesn't make sense. And I mean, I had a sticky system, like a sticky and notepad system at one time, and I had to remember it and I had to stick it all over. But the way we do it now, it's called a CRM system, which is a computer system. So everyone that comes in and everyone we consult with goes into a computer system, and we log in exactly the services that we are providing to them, and what that costs and what that's going to entail. So we keep everybody on a computer system that pretty much allows us to kind of keep track of them, the last conversation we had with them, if they made payments. So it's through we call it a permit portal that everybody gets kind of logged into, so we know exactly what's going on with their project, or we can see exactly the last thing that happened on that project based on the last person that had communication in our office with that with that client. So through our CRS portal system.
What are some of the most rewarding aspects of your job?
Connecting with the people. As a permit expediter, it has taken me I wouldn't say all over the world, but it's taken me in multiple different cities to experience meeting people in all facets of life, from not just the contractors. I mean, as an expediter, we also work with attorneys. We work with developers. We work with homeowners. We work with teachers. We work with Fortune 500 companies. We work with people building any $5 million projects. We work with people building 47 units. So it's like, I love it because it allows us to go beyond just a brick and mortar storefront. It allows us to actually meet so many people in so many facets, bankers, you name it, credit repair specialists. It allows us to meet a lot of people that we would have never met if we were in a different field, because most fields kind of keep you in the field of just who you know or who's within that same line of work. But as a permit expediter, we meet people with all facets of work, because what we do is all facets, from bars to restaurants. Everyone needs us in order to get those proper permits and licenses in order to open up.
Can you tell us about a particular challenging project you worked on as a permit expediter?
Challenging. There's a few of them. Okay. A particular challenging project. A particular challenging project is when you're dealing with more than, okay, so if a project, depending on the size of the project, a challenging project is when you're dealing with out-of-town architects that's not really too familiar with the codes here in the city of Philadelphia. And then you're dealing with multiple project managers that you have to go through in order to get the understanding of the project. And then you still have to work with their architects who is not familiar with the city. So that could be kind of difficult, and the process can take longer because we have to get the idea exactly of what's going on with that project. And it's kind of difficult sometimes when we can't, when it can take longer because we honestly need to understand what your needs are and where you're coming from in order for us to provide the proper permit to your type of service that you need, because a lot of projects actually, believe it or not, it needs zoning first before we can even deal with the building permit part of it. So it actually needs zoning first. So I would say dealing with bigger projects sometimes could be a little difficult because we're dealing with multiple people. So we, like I said, we may be dealing with a project manager, then we're dealing with somebody else that's a property manager. So that could be kind of difficult, and we have to hone our vision and kind of give them focus so we can understand what everyone says. But this is why the CRM is important, because with that CRM, we're typing in and backing up exactly what's going on and what phase we are in that project. So that part could be challenging, but we get through it. We get through it ultimately.
Okay, so how do you communicate with clients and stakeholders during the permit application process?
How do we run that question again?
How do you communicate with clients and stakeholders during the permit application process?
And stay.
Here, stakeholders.
That's them stakeholders.
Stakeholders?
That's what he
Oh,
wrote.
stakeholders. Okay. I'm like, what? Okay. How do we keep in contact with the clients?
Yes, and during the application permit process.
So during the application process, how do we stay in contact with the clients? Our client, again, our CRM system is called our permit portal. So we communicate with our clients through the permit portal system, which is our CRM. We also update them. So we email all their information. That's where we update the process of their permits. So we do that through that process. And then we also give our clients what they call a permit number that allows them to track their permit through the City of Philadelphia website to see what status their permit is in. And if the clients have any questions, then they just go ahead and they contact our office. But our CRM portal system is pretty much how we stay in contact with our clients during the process.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in pursuing a career in permit expediting? Expediting.
Okay, so what is the advice that I would give to a person who wants to become an expediter or that want to pursue being an expediter?
Who is interested in pursuing a career in
career in expediting. Okay, so I would just say have an open mind. This doing this process right here and being a permit expediter is very rewarding. You're going to meet so many facets of people. It's going to be so much fun. When we're having fun, we do photo shoots. We are invited to dinners. We're invited to speak at places. We really have a lot of fun because it brings us into all the facets. So as a permanent expediter, I would say let's just pay attention to detail and then break it down a little bit at a time. Because as a permanent expediter, you can specialize in certain things. You could just specialize in zoning, or you could specialize in building, or you could specialize in just, like, say, multi-level conversion. And I would say focus on little pieces of it at a time, because being a permanent expediter is not something like you're just going to get. It takes time. It takes at least a minimum of 6 months to really, really kind of understand that process, and a full year to really kind of master a few parts of it. So I would say it's definitely rewarding. Pay attention to detail. Make sure that with us, we'll make sure that you have the correct CRM systems, because that will help you out a lot. But I would definitely say just pay attention to detail, keep your communication with your clients, and if you don't know something, make sure you ask questions, okay? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're doing the work, but it's your clients that's going to wind up the one that's going to have a problem if you don't do things correctly.
Can you describe a time when you had to work under a tight deadline? How did you manage the situation?
I do good under pressure. So it depends exactly, again, what it is. So it depends on if it's a commercial property. It depends on what their needs was. So let's just say, for instance, I had a easy permit, and an easy permit is a permit that you can get in one day. So if someone said to me, I had a consultation, they said they need a permit by tomorrow, and I assessed their project, which is their property, and determined that I can get this for them in 24 hours, then I get it in 24 hours. If a person decided they wanted to change their building from a single family to a multifamily, I already know based on my consultation with them, I'll get that done in 24 hours. So I'm pretty good under pressure, but I'm pretty good with telling you the truth too. I'm very transparent, so I pretty much tell you the truth. What can be done, what can't be done, and I get on top of it right away with urgency.
How do you ensure that all necessary permits are obtained in a timely manner?
Excuse me. All necessary permits are obtained in a timely manner. Now, that could be a little difficult. The city of Philadelphia has their own time frame, which is 15 to 20 days when it comes to doing permits. Now, the permit could come back in between that time, but the way to ensure it is that they all have deadlines. So we have an alert that comes to us at the city comes to us to let us know that the permit is available, whether it's back that needs revision or is back and is ready for payment. Either way, we take that permit and we get it literally within 24 hours, right then and there. We submit that back to either the architect or whoever it needs to go to. We submit it back to them right away. But we also update the client as well during that process. It's really just staying in constant communication, because at the end of the day, I can't promise a turnaround time. We always say 30 to 45 days, but I can promise the time that we respond to it, because at the end of the day, it's about how we respond to the permit and the permit problem, situation, the questions. But we also have to wait for the architects. The architects is a big part of who we work with, and sometimes that can be the holdup because of their workload and revisions that need to be made. But ultimately, we get it done. But it's about staying in communication.
Okay, how do you handle conflicts or disputes that arise during the permit application process?
That varies. You can't please everybody all the time. Clients can be difficult to work with because most of them come to us already after the fact. So they're already up against the wall with their fees that they're paying to the hard money companies and their holding fees already. So they come to us already with urgency. So by the time they come to us, they're okay in the beginning, and then midway, they're like really, really, really upset. We can only control the process that we have control over. So there's times when they get mad, and there's times that they yell, and there's times and we got to try not to take that personally and just say, okay, I understand you're upset, but we need to get to the problem. We need to get to what's going on. We need to get to that, to that situation. And you have to allow me time to do that, because again, we only control a certain part of the permit process. The other part of the process goes on to the engineer and the architects to do their job and then get it back to us in a timely fashion so we could go and see it from that point. And then sometimes they don't even understand what's going on, or we got to all put our heads together, or sometimes the city changed their codes or laws in the middle of that. So it's a lot that can happen. And at the end of the day, it depends on who we dealing with. Some people, you can't please, and then some you can, because people just, they just what they call it, appreciate communication. At the end of the day, again, it's communication that's going to always win a client over. If they can't say nothing else, they know we didn't ghost them, because there's a lot of people that ghost their clients, and we're not one of those that's going to ignore you.
What is the most important skill or trait that a permit expediter should have?
What is one of the most important
skill or trait?
Okay, so it's good if they had some type of skill or trait. So it's good if they had some type of, like I said before, an experience in construction, an introductory to construction, being on a construction site, working with some type of construction tools. It's best that they had some buying material and rehabbing a property or being part of a renovation. owning rental properties already themselves, if they have if they can do that, it's not necessarily something that's difficult, but in the most part, there's something that they're gonna that they can find rewarding if they need to know. I actually forgot the rest of the other part of the question.
It's what is a important trait or
An
skill?
important trait is pay attention and ask questions. Write it down. I found writing it down was a lot, helped me out a lot till I really understood it. I used to grab every application and pre-fill it out just so I could have a template to go back to, so I knew exactly I was filling that thing out correctly, and then if I needed more help, I would go back to old permits and then see what I did with that permit and then mimic off of that too, So I would say one of the most important skills is paying attention, take your time and ask questions. Stay in your lane. Ask questions so you could, and not just with the city though. Ask questions with the city, but also ask other expediters, or don't be afraid to call a contractor or an architect if that's one of the problems that you're running into and you need understanding on.
How has technology affected permit expediting process?
It affected it tremendously. When I first started in permit expediting, we was doing everything with paper. Everything from the architectural plans to all of the stacks and stacks of applications and handwriting them was done in paper, was done in person with 1,000 of us all standing down there at the city, with a ticket in our hand looking to see who's they going to call next. So since then, they adapted something called the Eclipse system, portal system, which allows us to kind of like log in. And when you're doing it in person, back then, you were only able to submit like 3 permits at a time. Now that the new technology with the Eclipse portal system that they have, it literally allows us to submit thousands of permits at one time, which is amazing. But then, it's technology. No one likes technology and something that's new that you have to learn. So for a lot, there was a big learning curve because now what they used to be able to go to the city of Philadelphia and do, they now had to be pushed to go work through this portal. And that portal system became active right when COVID hit. The city of Philadelphia was shut down the day. The portal system came out the same day as COVID, and the city of Philadelphia was shut down. So they had to learn the portal system during the pandemic. So you can only imagine, it's like a system, and there's no one at the city to call for help, So for the first few months, no one was available to help because the city was themselves also learning in that process as well. So it was pretty hard learning curve at that time. Now there are some of us, it's like a love-hate relationship with the portal system right now. I technically love it because it allows us to do more permits and reach more clients and help more people. So we don't have to waste the time and go downtown. But that downtown is back open now over the last year or so. Now you can go back downtown and do it. But again, downtown pushes you to go in the portal too. So it's been a learning curve for a lot of people and it's still a learning curve actually. And the city of Philadelphia does offer trainings and things like that they have out monthly for you to either virtually go to learn their portal system, or you can go in person and do classes and that kind of thing. Either way you look at it, it's going to continue to be a learning curve, especially for older people who is not used to computers. It's a learning curve for them, and for other people who don't know how to work computers or how that work, it's a learning curve for them. So it definitely affected it tremendously, but both in a good and a bad way.
Can you walk us through a recent successful project you worked on as a permit expediter?
I have a lot of projects that are pretty successful. Let's just say one particular project in mind. I had a client who I went downtown to turn him into a duplex to find out that his property qualified to be quad and basically a 4-unit. So I had to make a phone call from a client to my client while I'm at the desk, all right, and say, hey, listen, I know you wanted to be a duplex, but according to the city, you could be a 4-unit in a storefront. And he couldn't believe it. He said, are you kidding me? I said, no. I said, but listen, if you become a 4-unit, that means you're going to need sprinklers. Is that something you want? And he was like, absolutely. So we turned him, which he thought he was going to have 2 apartments and the storefront to open up his office at the bottom. He actually literally wound up having 4 apartments and wound up having a storefront at the bottom. So that was a success. I was able to get that done in a day. Then I have another client who went in to get a project, and he thought he can be 4 units, and then we were able to turn him into 8. So, and that's all based on zoning code, okay? We were able to turn them to 8 units. 8 units meaning 8 apartments. So we were able to turn them into 8 apartments, which was really, really exciting. Of course, there's a lot of money in construction, but at the end of the day, now he's this huge apartment building that he never thought he could have, and he was able to do everything by right, and we were able to get that done in a day. We were able to do one of our clients and turned them into an event space. One of our clients, we was able to turn them into an event space based on their zoning code. They did not think they could be an event space. So they had a CMX4. We were able to turn that to them, turn them into that within one day as well. So we have a lot of success stories. That's just a few of them that wasn't sure what they could be, and we were able to turn them into what they thought they couldn't be in their wildest dreams, to turning buildings into gyms, turning buildings into retail stores and clothing stores. It's just so much fun.
What do you think the future of a permit expediter looks like?
Oh my gosh, it is amazing. So Permit Expediters is not just in the city of Philadelphia, but it's in LA, it's in Dallas, it's in Houston, it's in Baltimore, it's in Maryland. It is all over. There's always someone like myself as a building permit expediter that can help be that liaison for clients who don't feel like dealing with their municipality, or to have an experienced person that can help them with all that conflicting and all that paperwork when they're dealing with the construction process, in order to get them to the end goal, which is to get the permit and a license so they can start on their projects, right? So that sounds like a lot, right? So there's other people that do what I do through all the other cities and stuff like that. So what we do is we try to connect those people to those kind of people, because it can be intimidating to deal with the city when you even have to do a simple street closure, or put in a driveway, or finish a basement, or build a deck, and some people don't want to be bothered with that kind of stuff. And that's where permit expediters kind of come into play at. So there are people, the future is promising, because now we are no longer behind the scenes. We are now in front of the scenes, in the forefront. And we are saying, hello, we're here. You don't have to look for us. We actually have people that exist that can help you out. So promising, please. But building tiny houses, little tiny houses they have going on right now, and all those kind of things, and event spaces and all that stuff. Like, it's going to be a really big thing. Just keep an eye out. Permit Expediters is definitely on the rise.
Can you tell us about a time when you had to think outside the box to solve a problem?
Yes. I had to think outside the box to solve a problem. Wow. I have to figure that out a lot. So, okay. A lot of times when clients are doing projects, I'm trying to think of a good one for you guys, because we gotta think out of the box a lot. Okay, so a client has to get a project done, right? And they're doing a simple, easy permit, but just does not require plans. It just requires let's just say, a engineer's report, and that's it. But the basement was already partially finished, let's just say. So with the basement already being partially finished, I had to figure out a way to get my client into their project without having to do architectural plans. So I had to figure out a way to still get that basement done or finished, still while under an easy report, without needing plans. And we were able to do that by figuring out, and based on the city's standards, that as long as we take a picture of the current project and the basement, so the city can see that, and as well as with the egresses, and then we get a statement from the owner that they're aware that there's no structural work being done in the basement, just to finish what's existing alterations in that basement, which is very light work. We were able to kind of still get the easy permit over the counter in a day. So that's one little situation there. But yeah, we do have to think out of the box a lot. a lot for different multiple projects. Even with our Airbnbs, you have to live in the property to be an Airbnb if you're doing limited lodging. You're supposed to technically live inside the property. So we help them through that process and navigate their process as well.
Okay, so like this is your chance to like shout out either your Instagram or Facebook or anything you use so people know where to find you.
Okay. So we are on YouTube. Check out the Permit Plug. On YouTube, we have our YouTube channel out there, so check us out there. You can check us out on IG at Philly Permit Expediters, aka the Permit Plug, or you can check us out at the.permit plug on Instagram, or you could just Google us. How they say, Google me, baby, right? So you could just Google us too, and you'll find us either way. We're always doing multiple speaking engagements, and we're always interested in meeting new people and being able to educate everybody. So definitely check us out. We're pretty well known within this city of Philadelphia and kind of creeping around out of the city of Philadelphia, but we're known as the Permit Plug. So when you say the Permit Plug, they talking about me.
So thank you for letting us interview you and coming on our podcast. So that's it today for the Dope Student Podcast. Bye. Woo!